Hi, it's me, the Afro Hamurai. If you're wondering where I've been, I've just been focusing on my career. That's pretty much about it. I still produce music. I've just been spending time making sure that I'm good at my job so that I can still come back and then do this. So, yay. I don't know what that was. So in this video, I'm going to talk about Boot.dev. Specifically, I'm going to go through what it felt like for the first 15 or so minutes using it, some of the further, deeper research I did into what Boot.dev offers versus what some of the other competitors offer, and whether or not I would suggest it as a service that you as a person who maybe is either starting out learning to code or that is a bit more intermediate and maybe wants to brush up on the basics or wants to go further with your code, whether you should use that service or not. Let's talk about what Boot.dev is. So Boot.dev is a service/platform that you can use to learn to code, but in a much more gamified way so that you're able to kind of be more motivated to continue, right? The idea is that it's hard to be motivated to learn to write code if the main way that you're having to do it is by sitting down and reading a book to do it, or by going through tutorials and going through the setup of doing everything on your computer, right? It's kind of meant to take all of that friction away, so then that way you can focus more on writing your code, which I think is a good idea. I don't necessarily think it's a unique idea, but it's a good idea. Let's talk about the first 15 to 20 minutes of using Boot.dev, because that's exactly what I had to do. I went through the first 15 to 20 minutes, right? So when you go onto their website, either by going through a YouTuber's link or just directly onto Boot.dev, you get greeted with this big screen that says that you can just start your demo now. And the demo sounds like a demo, but is basically the full website. It's just that it starts you off with a course, and then I think at the end of it, it asks you to sign up or something like that, right? As part of this experience, it asks you to fill in a questionnaire. And then as part of that questionnaire, it gets you to ask what it is that you want to learn. And if you don't know, you can say that you're not sure. And then as you go further, it will ask you what level of experience you have with code and so on and so forth. And then at the end of that, it suggests a course for you to go through. Now, for the purposes of this video, I went through it as if I was someone who had never done any code before, just to see what it would suggest for me. So I do like that they've kind of taken the questions that I've asked of like not knowing where I wanted to start and giving me a suggestion on what it is that I want to do. It does make sense that then you would start with some really, easy stuff like Python. The course that I was going through, the sort of introductory Python course, felt good. It felt, in fact, a little bit like Codecademy, basically. I was learning some of the basics of Python. I was learning how to print something. I was learning what different variable types were, the sort of things that I would really start anyone with who's learning to code. So in that way, they're able to really get at least the grips of some of the real basic stuff of Python before we start going into some more language specifics, right? And also, looking further ahead in the course, I saw a practice bit. Let's see what me from the screen recording had to say about this. This is like later on, so I can't actually access this without paying money. But they have actually got what looks to be a function that you're meant to build. And then they have a file here that runs some stuff against your function to make sure that it works as it should do. Almost like a really basic version of what you would do in real life. That was kind of alright, wasn't it? So while I was on Boot.dev, I got a pop-up in the top left that said you have a new challenge, and that actually seemed kind of interesting. So I clicked on it. What is that? Okay, so they have this challenge which, it's just meant to be a thing? So, okay. So what, I can just actually just do this and just see what happens, right? Are these random, or is this just like something that it does? I did like the challenge and I completed it, and I wanted to see what the challenges were. Like, how are they made? Is there just like a catalog of like loads of them? So I looked it up on their website, and it said that their challenges are AI made, but also use a large catalog of their own challenges, both to pick from and also to try and generate for you. So they are meant to be quite good challenges. However, when I made a second challenge, it kind of felt similar to the first one. And it might just be because the courses that I completed were relatively minimal, so it only had a little bit of information to use. I don't know whether the challenge challenges get better or different as we go along. But I'm not sticking around for that long for it, so I guess I'll never know. But from my initial impression of challenges, good feature. I really liked it. I think it's good. So in terms of Boot.dev's aim to have something that's engaging and fun to use, I would say that they deliver. Like, it is definitely fun to use. I do like the overall RPG elements. There was even a course that I did that included a screenshot from Pokemon as a way to explain string interpolation, which I think was really cool. Like, it really does go, hey, this is a thing you've seen in a game. This is how a game works. Like, I think I do see why that's really interesting and intriguing, and 100% for anyone who's learning to code, who's into video games, I can see where Boot.dev would be something that's exciting and engaging for them. So I'm going to focus a bit more on Boot.dev's actual content. On their public GitHub, they have what's called the curriculum, so all of the courses that they have and are planning to have. And most of the courses in the curriculum are really good concepts, but only really focus on really 3 languages: Python, Go, and TypeScript. And I'm not saying that Python is not a language used in industry. You will find jobs that will use Python and Go and TypeScript and JavaScript. You'll find them. There's an entire slice of the pie that Boot.dev doesn't use. And even though it's mostly focused on backend development, it doesn't even cover all of backend development. It only covers what I would say is some, and at best maybe most, of backend development. If you're working on a personal project, Boot.dev would 100% have everything that you need. You're fine, you're done, go ahead, start your own business, right? But if you were going to look at getting jobs, there may be some jobs that Boot.dev is still not going to be able to prepare you for, and that you'd need to go off-platform to learn. Boot.dev also focuses on backend development rather than front-end development. So if you think of a website, the actual web page and everything that makes all of the buttons work and that deals with you typing stuff in and then has the button that's click submit and all of that other stuff, that's the front end. The back end is more where the data's stored, that does more of the advanced logic, like knowing who you are and then being able to get all of your user information if you're logging into a website, for example. That's back end development. If that's something that interests you, or if you're just learning to code, I feel like that makes it a bit easier because there tends to be less moving parts when you're working on it at a smaller scale. But if you're interested in making websites or making apps, then Boot.dev maybe isn't going to be the best web tool for you. Also, to go back onto the interactivity, I think that their take on interactivity is unique in terms of the way that they've slanted towards more of a video game style of engagement. But interactivity in the platform in itself, I don't think it is. We've looked at Brilliant. Brilliant has streaks and experience. We've looked at Codecademy. Codecademy has streaks and experience, and Codecademy has an AI assistant as well. It's just not got a face like the one that they have in Boot.dev. So the idea of interactivity itself isn't unique to Boot.dev. The way they've done it, I would say, is, but I don't think that the concept of interactivity as a whole is unique. So they don't really own that, right? Boot.dev has a lot of courses when you look at them on one page. It's not like a huge amount. I've seen more on the other platforms, but they do have a lot of courses. But as I said before, most of those courses tend to only focus on Python and Go and TypeScript and JavaScript, with some small bits and pieces here and there, right? They have learning tracks, and they have 2. They have backend development with Python and Go, and backend development with Python and TypeScript. So as long as you want to learn one of those 2 things, you're on the right platform. If you don't want to learn one of those 2 things, go away, you are on the wrong place. That's basically it. The good thing to do with Boot.dev, if you are thinking of going into it, is to use the fact that for free, without paying money, you can read all of their courses. And I would suggest you do that, especially if you're going into Boot.dev as someone who knows what they want to learn. Check what they have and make sure that in that course, just give it a skim, make sure that that course actually has what you're interested in. The reason I say this is actually from personal experience, because I did almost buy Boot.dev and realized that the course that I was going to buy it for was one that actually didn't do what I wanted. I would maybe brush up on things like functional programming and data structures and algorithms, just because I think that would be kind of useful. But going into memory management in C, for example, I clicked this thinking it would be a C course, and I was literally almost about to buy Boot.dev. And then on the left, it says, this is not a C course. We'll be writing C and we'll cover the basics of C that you need, but we're focusing on memory, not C. So I can't use this as a way to learn something that I'm kind of interested in, even though it says that C is the language I'm using. I'm not saying it's misleading because you are using C. I'm just saying that it doesn't really give you C that you can use, so then why not just not use C? I actually, yet again, gotta give the Boot.dev team credit, because at least they directly told me and they let you see that for free, so that you're not spending your money on something that you're not gonna get the benefit from. So yet again, to the Boot.dev team, if you're randomly watching this, thank you for being very honest, thank you for being very open, and also I think your platform is very fun. However, if you are from Boot.dev and you're watching this, don't watch this next bit, because I'm about to talk about pricing. Boot.dev per year costs £229 street price. That's if you don't have a YouTuber discount, if you don't have anything like that. One of the YouTuber discounts I managed to get from one of the affiliate links ended up being, I think, about £171 or something like that. So you got that, which was quite good. But yeah, that's the price of Boot.dev. For a platform for learning to write code, that's pretty standard, right? I have something called RealPython, which is online video tutorials. So it doesn't have the interactivity that Boot.dev has. You still need to have Python set up on your computer, and you need to know how to set it up, which they have some tutorials on. That costs £249 per year, right? And granted, RealPython is just Python and also goes into very advanced Python and very entry-level Python, but that's still a lot to ask for someone who maybe doesn't even know to write code yet, right? Boot.dev and RealPython both have free stuff, so just use the free stuff if you're not sure, and then just go from there. But I can see why Boot.dev will be better than a platform like that. What I can't say is that Boot.dev offers better value for money when compared to Codecademy, because Codecademy Pro, they come in at £191 per year, or £192 per year, I think, if you round it properly, right? Now, Codecademy has a lot more content. Granted, the freshness of the content might be a bit of a question mark, but they do have more stuff to learn. Like, you can learn Python, Go, I can learn C on there because I want to learn C, you can learn Java. Also, they don't only focus on back-end development. You can learn front-end development, you can learn data analysis, you can learn just computer science in general. There's a lot more that you can learn, I think, from the fact that Codecademy is a much more mature and a much older platform that has way more content in it. In my opinion, Codecademy is a better value product because of that. Let's go back to the courses that Boot.dev have. Remember, they have 2 courses. They can teach you backend development in Python and TypeScript, or backend development in Python and Go. Codecademy's first page of course of like career tracks of courses that are available for you is more than 2. There's a lot more than 2. There is plenty more than 2. I think my biggest problem with the pricing of Boot.dev is that the price of Boot.dev compared to its competitors, I don't think accurately represents the level of value that you get from Boot.dev versus their competitors if what you're looking for is variety. I think for me, that's the biggest thing that makes it hard for me to recommend Boot.dev unilaterally and say, yes, if you're learning to code, this is the best thing ever. I could forgive the lesser amount of content because that content seems to be at least of very good quality. So having a little bit of quality content is better than having a lot of not quality content. And I think that the features of the challenges that are AI generated, trained on their own human written challenges, I think that's great as a way to give you multiple ways to keep practicing what it is that you're learning. I think that's great. And I think that the characterization of everything and the way that they frame their model of interactivity, I think that's great as well. Everything about Boot.dev I think is fine. The problem is that the price that they're charging for it, in my opinion, isn't worth it when you look at what the competitors offer. Because when you take away the really cool interactivity, like the skin, for lack of a better way of putting it, that they've put over the top of their streaks and their interactivity and trying to make it a fun and engaging experience, when you take that away, what you have is a relatively small amount of highly curated content and AI challenges, which Codecademy can also give you at less of a price with much higher variety of content. I think I know which one I'd pick if the one that has way more content and that also has all the same features comes at £20 less. I don't know, you decide. Going from pricing to a summary, I think Boot.dev is a good platform. The characterization of their interactivity I think is really fun. I can see where that's very engaging, especially if you're younger and you're trying to use this as a platform on the side of school for learning code because you're actually interested in it. I think that the engagement that they have will actually bring you back, and maybe that's the reason that you would see value in it. The AI challenges I think are good as a way to mix in between your lessons, as a way to break things up, but also to give you more of those ways to get those cool experience points. I think those are cool as well. And I think that the amount of content that they have, as much as it's small, is good content. So if that's the content that you're looking for and that's what you want to learn, then 100% Boot.dev offers you a value in that way. But overall as a package, I don't think, in my opinion, it's worth more than what the competitors offer. Most importantly though, outside of the idea of the content and the characterization and the value proposition that I've put forward in terms of Boot.dev versus Codecademy, the most important thing if you're learning to code is which platform will actually make you come back and learn to code. If Boot.dev as a platform has all the content that you actually want, and most importantly, has the interactivity that makes you want to go and learn to code, then 100% you should use Boot.dev, because Codecademy's amount of content doesn't matter because you already have the content that you want. And Codecademy's extra features don't matter because you've already figured out that that's not going to make you come back, that what's going to make you come back is Boot.dev's way of presenting it to you. So go there. Go and use that, right? Because that's the better service for you. But if you're someone who's new to code and you've seen mostly the YouTuber adverts of Boot.dev and you think that that's the only game in town, at least try Codecademy. Get the free trial of Codecademy. They have the free courses on there anyway, and see how they go, because firstly, you might find something that interests you more than what's on Boot.dev, and also you might be able to save a little bit of money at the same time. But that's just my opinion as a dude who is now a software developer and otherwise just produces okay music and sometimes talks to a microphone on the internet. Yeah.